We're surrounded by extras that have conveniently had their tongues pulled out so that we don't have to pay them for speaking any lines here on V'ger Please. A vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
And I'll eat dinner with you. And I'll treat your phaser wound. And ultimately, I'm going to burn your house down. I'm your co-host, Peter.
Peter, there's a couple things I think we want to talk about before we get into the episode this week. My topic is our Discord, which has seen a huge influx of people who have joined it. Thank you, everybody that has hopped on. As I've mentioned several times before, while I am a little bit lax in getting invites out, I am happy to do so if you were to send me any kind of message, either at via email at vgerplease@gmail.com, at Twitter at vgerplease, or at my personal Twitter at Intern of Doom, or our Facebook group or Facebook page. Just let me know, and I'll get you in there. And the conversations...
Or email us.
Yes, I did mention that first, by the way.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Obviously.
I was thinking about what I wanted to say.
That doesn't bode well for our talk about this episode, man.
Meh.
It's our, we got to get into our rhythm, man.
Yeah.
Come on. We have expectations now. We have our audience has increased significantly.
Well, it's part of our charm.
It is. And part of the charm is getting to interact with everybody. I don't have necessarily as much time as I would like to respond to everybody in the Discord, but I want everybody to know I read all of it. And I love the conversations that are happening about the episodes, both in the general channel as well as in the No Peter Allowed zone, which is just a delightful, let's talk about the things that we can't talk about in front of Fred and Peter before he understands what's going on.
My virgin eyes.
Indeed. And so thank you to everybody. Although I am sad no one's taken me up on playing World of Warcraft with me. I just put it out there and everyone's like, nah, sorry, I have a life. And I'm like, that hurts.
Everyone is cooler than you. And shame on you for going back to that WoW well.
Listen, it's like heroin. You can't actually quit. It's just a lie.
It's me and Heroes of the Storm. I don't install it. I want to talk about, speaking of quitting, Sopranos, man. When did I say I started watching that? Back in Enterprise? Yeah. Season 3 Enterprise?
It was quite a journey for you. I remember when you started, you were hard in the paint for that show.
It was amazing. Season 1, Season 2. I mean, all 5 seasons I thought were good. Season 1 and 2 especially. And then Season 6 hit me like a fucking brick wall. And I have never had to muster my strength to slog. Well, I take that back. Had Season 2 of Enterprise not been a podcast that we were doing with a gun to my head, with an internet pistol to my head,
yes,
I would have bailed on that shit. But for Sopranos to go and be such a great TV show to what happens in Season 6, and the last 3 episodes were admittedly okay because something actually happened that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, am I glad that is done and over, and we can move on to watching other good things in the house because it was just a bear trap. And then that ending,
yeah, I was about to say, what did you think of the ending?
I watched that ending. I knew it was going to be bad. I knew there was a lot of controversy on it. I was not prepared for the abruptness. I thought that maybe the recording was fucked up, as I'm sure everybody else who watched was like, did I just lose cable? What's going on?
Famously, yes, that is what happened.
And all I could see in that black space was some creative over on Sopranos just coked out of their fucking mind, being like, we're pushing the envelope on art, man. We're going to blow people's minds. We're inventing new TV, and just complete fucking botch. And I see now all the jokes and stuff about HBO fumbling TV shows that are great. And I could watch spiritually Sopranos hand the torch over to Game of Thrones in terms of just burning the fucking house down while you're still inside of it.
Well, HBO in particular gives a lot of control over to its showrunners and creatives that are making the product and really don't interfere from a studio perspective. So, David Chase had it the way he wanted it, which at the beginning before his head got a little too big, and the show was much more
Mm.
grounded. It led to a better story, but as time went on and he got a little too big for his britches, he went the direction he did. And yeah, season 6 is just very difficult to watch, just because
I
they're
look
trying to
online.
they're trying to end this story, but they don't want to end it the way that the audience quote unquote expects. They're trying to subvert expectations because that's the arty thing to do, and it just comes off as pretentious
All the
and
shit with his
confusing.
son
Yeah,
that I couldn't give a fuck about.
AJ is legitimately the worst character on the show. Like,
He is.
Yeah.
And I think it's like bigger than that for me. I hate the main character's son pretty much in all the media that I watch. I couldn't stand Walt Jr. in Breaking Bad. Surprisingly, I don't hate Jake in DS9, but like children, that can be the byline of our podcast, is children actors are terrible.
Meadow was fine.
Meadow was fine, and she got like minimal involvement on there. You could have taken any other character in that, and they would have been more fun. Take the guy that was running around the woods, the Russian guy that they were supposed to, or that they weren't supposed to kill, and they were going to go kill. And then like he runs off into the woods and gets shot, and then Chris and Paulie are just like eating ketchup packets in the abandoned van or whatever. Give me a whole episode of what that guy's doing, and it'd be better than 20 seconds of AJ.
Agreed.
Awful. And then I look online and like, oh, why all the hate about AJ? What's blah blah blah? Season 6 is great. And I'm like, gosh, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
No,
and
I've got a podcast. I'm right. I'm the most right.
I mean,
person.
David Chase is going to defends that ending to the death. I was going to actually recommend to you, now that you're finished with the series, there is a documentary on the making of The Sopranos that has been very well received in terms of like being very specific about episodes and choices and things that, and how it was produced, that probably would be of interest to you at this point.
Absolutely not. I'm done and over.
Oh, you're done. Okay.
Everything I had to get through fucking season 6 while season
burned
6
you out.
Oh yeah, big time. Pissed all over the fucking excellent body of work that 1 through 5 was. I think I'm going to jump in and catch this most recent For All Mankind. And I think you and I need to go through and review or refresh Fallout, because that's Patreon content.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to end up hitting that up for Patreon content, FYI. I think we've mentioned that here recently. First Voyage Home, than that. Although when I put that up to Patreon, you know what they told me? They want vampire talk. They said like, we'll sit through Kindred the Embraced if you guys will do LARP stories.
Oh, I don't know if I'm willing to sit through Kindred the Embraced.
It's like, I still want to find a way to give at the people what they want, but maybe not in a recorded way.
We wrap up. We get through 7 seasons of DS9. We'll do Blade, the TV show, House of Cathan, which was excellent minus Blade. You got to cut Kirk Sticky Fingers Jones out of there. But all the rest of that was really good. And then maybe that'll get me in the mood. But
I do want to make one recommendation of an HBO show to watch. Again, mishandled by the network, but at least the product ended up being very good.
Spawn?
The HBO series Rome. So this famously for you and I, because we actually did meet Ray Stevenson under strange circumstances once. That is a vampire story. But he's in it, and there's a lot of other sort of like British actor that guys who were in it, and it's a fantastic, drama version of the rise and fall of Julius Caesar and everything else, through the eyes of 2 particular legionaries characters for the most part, that are a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to engage with. So it's very well produced. It's high budget, and that is, of course, why it ended up only being 2 seasons, because it was too expensive. But if you want something small to get into that's very good, I want to make that suggestion to you. I think you'll like it.
I'll keep it in mind. But
now, I don't know if you liked it or not, but what episode of DS9 did we watch?
We watched Season 1, Episode 15, Progress, first aired May 9th, 1993, written by Peter Allen Fields, directed by Les Landau. In-universe date, 2369. I've been doing my homework. DS9 has been very warmly received by me so far.
Yes.
to a degree that obviously Voyager and specifically Enterprise couldn't get anywhere near in terms of like assimilation rate. And as part of my prep, I've started watching like YouTube videos discussing Terek Nor as a facility.
Yeah, even brought up on the Discord, speaking of.
I love those half screens. This guy does the fancy 3D models and starts doing cutaway and floor plans. And it's weird because like I love Star Trek and I love Next Gen. And, you know, I've got these physical technical manuals that were printed in, you know, the 90s, whatever. And I've looked at these so that I know all the floor plans. But DS9 is such an alien thing, getting in there and seeing where exactly Ops is, where is the promenade, you know, what are the weapon sales look like. And there's a little bit of spoilers, but it's stuff I already knew that, you know, at some point during the Dominion War, like the Federation gets real about like putting some real guns on this fucking thing. But it's cool, like the level of consideration that went into DS9 Station as a character,
Yeah.
and as an alien character that is so radically different from anything you would see in Starfleet. Starting with like Cisco's elevated commander's office.
And it's something that I think was missing from when we watched Enterprise specifically. It's not that the NX-01 didn't ultimately kind of have its own feel or look. It most certainly did, and we commented on it. But it felt generic, right? Like turning it into like this, you know, very utilitarian submarine,
Too real is what it
too
felt.
real. And so it didn't feel like something that felt different or unique or stood out. In fact, it was quite the opposite. It felt like every other generic sci-fi set.
Minus, I would say, engineering.
Oh yeah, that's true. I will say that the engineering set, when thinking about it in context of other Starship engineering sets through Star Trek, had a very specific feel of early travel to it. And but the rest of the ship, it just felt like generic. This could have been the Battlestar Galactica reboot. This could be
Yes.
any number of shows, frankly, on the Sci-Fi Channel at any given time.
Could have been a exhibit at a children's museum. I mean, we've got COSI over here in Columbus, and it's walking around their little submarine area. Maybe I'm on some part of the next one. Maybe I'm going to turn a corner and go into a multi-purpose room where Judge T'Pol presides. Who knows? It's very
And
exciting.
it's very exciting. And I will say though, Voyager felt like its own vessel. It felt like it was a Starfleet vessel that was different than the Enterprise, than we had spent so much time on. Right? It had a different purpose. It was smaller. It felt smaller. It felt more sleek. It felt more high tech. It felt like a space Ferrari.
Felt like they had a better budget building the sets.
That too. The Enterprise obviously has its warm Holiday Inn Express vibe. And then, yeah, DS9 is an alien space station, and it feels like it's different than the design language of everything else we've ever encountered. And it's extremely well realized on screen. I completely agree.
Speaking about Voyager real quick, what season of DS? Well, when did they bring in the first contact uniforms? Which season?
Of DS9, fifth?
Yeah.
I want to say fifth.
So it's pretty, oh God, that's a lot of purple turtleneck we got to deal with.
Yes.
Fuck.
Yeah, you're in this for a while, my friend. I'm sorry.
Because clearly Voyager would leave some point between season 1 and 4.
Yes.
Right? Because it's pre-Dominion War. It's pre-First Contact uniforms. So that gives you 2 more seasons of DS9 while Voyager is already out there. Do you see any more on-screen Intrepid classes, or is Voyager the only one you ever see?
Oh, you definitely are going to see more on-screen Intrepid class ships on DS9.
That's cool.
Yes.
I wonder what mysterious role they will be filling. Is it a long-range reconnaissance craft? Is it a short-range, was it escort frigate, or like?
I could tell you, but you'll resent me.
What if DS9? What if Terek Nor had as many goofy stated functions as the Intrepid class? Like, is it an ore processing facility? Is it like a orbital star black hole research facility? Is it an infirmary? That's the other crazy thing. Watching these half screens, like how small the infirmary is on Tarek Nor to accommodate what could be up to 7,000 people.
Yeah, and we
One
didn't even
bed.
believe in only the Cardassians were getting the medical care. Remember, the Bajorans were just left to die. Kind of makes sense.
Your infirmary is actually the airlock, so you might want to think twice before you cough on anybody.
By the way, it's season 3. It's during season 3 of DS9 that Voyager is launched. So if we're going to keep up with our pattern, though, I guess maybe when we're doing season 3, we're going to have to do an episode about Caretaker again, right? It is an episode
That'd be fun
in which,
to go back to, huh?
Yeah, it takes place on DS9.
Watching Harry Kim get stunted on.
Yeah, Quark shows up to show everyone what quality looks like before sending Harry on his way.
Speaking of quality, so this progress, right?
Yeah.
We're going to open with the hot shit, and that is Kira, and that is Jadzia in a runabout doing some mapping.
Well, no, hold on.
Well, this is my first note, and that's the most important.
There's a whole B plot. There's the Nog and Jake discover capitalism B plot.
I'll tell you a secret about this episode.
Okay.
It was another one of these good ones where I don't have enough notes because I was busy watching and enjoying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, your girl Nana Vister, once again, out here delivering on fantastic performances with her plate of I Get It cookies. And that's going to be the focus. But I think the B plot's actually surprisingly good.
It's excellent, and it's the colonist doesn't want to leave, and the Cardassians are coming, / the sun is going to explode, / we're going to start space fracking or whatever the fuck's going on in this one. Is like heavy retread, right? Especially out of the next gen stuff. Like if they're not playing space Uber, then they're trying to displace colonists because the badness is coming. I was ready to discount the entire no, old man, you have to leave as just more of that fluff. I was really hype about the Jake and Nog thing, which what the fuck happened there? Did I hit my head when I was
like the plot with the child actor is the one you like? Yeah, no, it's a great B plot, right? Like when we think about the A plot B plot pattern in Star Trek, which by the way, like I'm not sure how many other shows contemporary to Trek did that sort of like multi-track plotting thing the same way that Trek just repeatedly kind of turned into an institution. But as B plots go,
how interesting and why?
Yeah. I've never really thought of like, do other shows do this? I'd have to watch some X-Files or something to be able to really say. I don't think many do.
I think maybe that might be a cost control device. If your A plot is where the fancy special effects are, and having those on screen costs you money, then you would water down the episodes with B plots so your expensive stuff is on screen less.
In particular for DS9, A plot, B plot construction is almost necessary because you have so many characters you need to be able to give some kind of screen time to so often, right? Like everybody shows up for a second in this episode, right? We have the moment where Bashir shows up. We have the moment where Odo shows up. We have the moment where Dax shows up. But for the most part, there's 3 characters in this episode: Kira, Nog, and Jake, right? And so having a B plot allows you to actually give enough material to 2 of your characters that otherwise would just not be a factor whatsoever. So in this example, it's a perfect B plot because it's one of these kind of consequence-free stories that kind of allows you to understand some people more, get a flavor for life on the space station. You know, you don't have to really worry too much about specifically what happens, but there's things going on that's fun to engage with.
It's world building.
It is. And you compare this, by the way, to the worst version of the B plot, which is our ship is getting taken over by butt probe aliens. Also, what's Malcolm Reed's favorite dessert? Like when it's like just totally discordant, it doesn't work, and in this circumstance, it does.
Voyager did A plot, B plot. Voyager didn't really have a lot of room for world building because they were never in the same place for more than 3 episodes, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So why get too deep into building the world on, planet Reebok or whatever, right?
We could do Planet Nike, and then
The
Adidas.
the answer there would have been to bring in more of the tertiary characters, the Delaney sisters, Lieutenant Ayala, like Howdy Doody, or all the other fun people, Hogan.
The things they could have done but didn't. Yes.
Bring in other crew members and kind of augment your main cast. Like that would have been the B plot to do there. And Voyager specifically, they gave all the screen time to the main cast. Whatever. Enterprise, that was a shame, is that the world building there was so fucking weak a lot of times that was their chance to really explore things you already knew about and go into origins. And instead you get B plots like, what's Malcolm Reed's favorite cake? By the way, Phlox's wife is horny, or other silly shit like they did some cool world building here and there, but they didn't really use their B plots for it. And for a big chunk of Enterprise, they lost that altogether. DS9 is doing heroic lifting in terms of world building as to not only like what is Bajor, what is DS9, what is this part of space, what is the civilian life like out here on the fringes, Quark and a lot of these other civilian characters. So like the B plot is critical in terms of, hey, we've got too much cast to fit all into an A plot. And also what we're doing is so ambitious that we need that screen real estate to really like, here is what commerce looks like in the 24th century. You've never seen that before because everything's been post scarcity replicator utopia. Here is what this weird Ferengi trade federation that's trying to get their claws into the Gamma Quadrant, looks like in this other stuff. So again, I'm realizing that everything that I would complain about in Voyager and Enterprise is like, those properties were light on those things because they went so heavy with it on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, and I've mentioned to you before that I thought that might be the reason why. That DS9 seemed to corner the market on the big multiplayer cast of thousands approach. And that probably came with complications, right? Like, I have not actually watched What You Leave Behind. I'm waiting for us to watch that together, by the way, which I'm going to go ahead and presume that when the Voyager documentary comes out, we're going to hit a quick pause and we're going to go deal with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm desperate to know some of the things that might be said in that. But this show really went hard, as you can already tell, in the first season on that premise. And again, none of the focus characters in this episode are in Starfleet. None of them.
I want to skip real quick deeper in this old man in this.
Yes.
This is going to be my litmus test here. If this guy turns back up in later episodes, that's going to be a real big deal for me, right?
I hate to say that he doesn't, but
really,
yeah,
they Vardwar his ass. Really?
Well, the actor is legitimately an old man. He died a few years after this. Like, he didn't survive until DS9 was over.
I really thought that. Okay, we'll get into all that, but
yeah,
the one of the worst things about Voyager was they encountered these incredible characters that were just one and done special guest stars instead of like, hey, my life fucking sucks. And also my interaction with Voyager has made my life worse because you've exposed me to what a good life can be. And also my people hate me now because I'm a traitor. Dr. Pell, shout out,
yes.
right?
I was just about to bring up Dr. Pell as an example of them actually doing
Paysan Nog, right? All sorts of great characters. Like, you should be on this ship or one of the resources that they cannot replenish as crew, and they don't. And that's kind of like what I'm waiting to see on DS9 is like, hey, you seem like you could be a real value add. Are you going to pop back up again at some point? And like, I really thought this guy was going to be one of those. But all right, so yeah, we open up with an excellent 10 out of 10 argument between Quark and Nog, and it's because Nog not paying attention is fulfilling old orders they used to do back in the Cardassian occupation days, and it's what, like, yum yum sauce?
So it wasn't Quark wasn't yelling at Nog. Quark was yelling at the background Ferengi, Broik.
Oh, I thought that was...
Yes, who screwed that up, and he ordered yamak sauce, which is a Cardassian delicacy condiment, but nobody else likes it. Like, it's not palatable to non-Cardassians, so it's useless because now there's only one Cardassian who lives on the station. So they don't know what to do with it, and that's where Nog, his lobes start tingling, and he's like, "There's profit to be made from this. We can do something with this, right?"
I like all the future technologies that Jake and Nog could be playing with, and they're just playing with fucking cards.
They're playing Go Fish or something. I don't know. And so that starts them off on their plot, which is ultimately going to be them bartering with different people to try and eventually get their hands on gold pressed latinum specifically. And I do love that throughout the plot, Jake is the one that actually has the better sense of capitalism. The guy who spent his entire life growing up in a post-scarcity, socialist utopia is the one who's like, you should trade for more valuable things and then find someone who wants the other thing until you eventually get what you want.
Some people are just born hustlers, right?
Indeed.
Not only is he the go-getter of the year, he's also the ladies' man, as
it's true.
evidence.
He was the one helping Nog with his game, man.
Not even helping Nog. I mean, he was straight up on leader ladies' business. So Nog's just there to basically like nudge Jake into action, I think.
It's a good dynamic for the two of them, and it's fun to watch it change as Nog ultimately, as you already know, makes a very different change in his life than what Jake chooses to do, and that their friendship alters as a consequence, and what they stop being paired together all the time and start having to basically have their own storylines. It's kind of like very realistic,
sure,
in that sense. So what is also realistic is that we finally found one of Jadzia's key character traits, right? And we talked about how they didn't quite know what to do with her first few episodes. They didn't know if Jadzia fucks or not. Well, like, now we know Jadzia fucks, which means this is the beginning of a running joke. And the running joke is Kira and Dax are friends. And Dax always starts talking about the strange alien that has hit on her.
There's another joke at play here too, which is, as you've pointed out, the wonderful world of Morn.
Oh, yes.
Off screen.
Yes. Morn is an incredible character when he's not on screen. He's got game. He's like inviting Dax over to dinner. He's getting drunk and like singing and stuff.
He's the idealized versions of the 37's city and Archer's speech to form the Federation. Like, you never get to see it. The special effects are too grandiose. We didn't have budget for it. But trust us.
It's happened, though. It happened. And the reason why they're in this runabout is because apparently, in order to solve some of Bajor's energy problems, someone found a copy of Superman and decided, what's a great idea is we tap into the core of a planet and take that energy. Nothing bad will happen. But wait, let's just do it on one of our moons. So they don't really explain why it's necessary to tap into the core of this moon and therefore ruin it for any kind of future use as like a place people could live, which, considering it's a clearly habitable moon, seems like a real
M
fucking waste. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Lush.
Idealistic.
Yeah. Untouched.
Doesn't appear to have like locust swarms or monsters of any sort. It's just like a cool, chill farming community. So, especially when they kind of explored a little deeper in the episode, and it's like, we can either frack this bitch and like let the poison gases out that will kill all life. We're talking about this is a terrible fucking plan. How is...
Yeah.
What kind of smash and grab bullshit is the Federation facilitating here? Because these aren't Bajoran scientists. This is a Starfleet operation.
It's very, very, very underbaked. It makes no sense from a strategic perspective for Bajor or the Federation to say, we're going to make this M-class planetoid, moon, around another M-class planet that has people
Right there.
living on it.
It's right there. It's super close.
And we're gonna destroy the biosphere of this planet so that we can get heat energy for Bajoran homes. Like, hold on a second. Doesn't the Federation basically have a technology
unlimited
by which they
energy.
can create limitless energy using nuclear fission, like, or fusion at this point? Or like, it's why would you need to blow? Why would you have to make one of your moons inhospitable to life? It seems extreme.
A brand new space butthole is opened. It is the doorway to another quadrant of wonder and wow. You don't also the ultimate plot reveal of the B plot is that physical land is still important and highly valuable even in the future.
Yes.
And you have a whole fucking moon of prime real estate at the doorstep of a brand new part of space where you're going to have a lot of big deal shit and like people coming through and probably, you know, people relocate. You're going to take a whole fucking perfect place to live and just turn it into a toxic hellhole over power, which, as you've pointed out, there's ways around. This is awful.
Yes, it is.
And I'm willing to put this on the weakest shit
I was
consideration.
going to say, like, this feels like some weakest shit right here.
I think what was my front runner for weakest shit?
I believe you were quite unimpressed by the ending of Battle Lines and how underexplained.
Oh, I'm sorry. Planet Live Forever.
Planet Live Forever was kind of like underexplained in the same way, right? Like, I get that you're trying to say this is like an industrial development process that needs to happen so that Bajor can have a future. I get like that was what you intended, but you didn't explain it enough, so it seems stupid.
And also, there's option 2 for this moon, which is instead of space fracking it and letting the poison gases out, you could like gentle laser it and get the energy out. It just takes an extra year. But then you're not destroying an entire fucking planet of like life and nice land. This is a big red flag for the Bajorans. I'm going to say that right now.
This does not seem right.
I needed a scene there where Cisco's looking at these plans like, let me get this straight. We could wait a year and there not be a problem, or we could burn this place to the core, have to relocate all these settlers, and destroy this planet forever. Presumably because they don't want to use they're like super anti-nuclear fission or something.
Germans or something? What's with you guys?
And we're trying to get them in the Federation, huh?
Well, listen, Azeroth needs its power. They must construct additional pylons.
This is
I know StarCraft, whatever.
It took us a while in Voyager to start getting into the Captain Planet villains. I think we're already here, Joe.
Yeah, we are.
This is a hoggish Greedly
level of bullshit right here.
Operation. This is the lead project designer on this thing, I believe, is actually Dr. Blight.
So, bullshit reason for this episode to happen aside, like I said when we talked about Battle Lines, this stuff doesn't bother me the same way it bothers you. So I'm like, I can put it aside. Right? Like, okay, I know what you meant to do. Whatever. Give me Nana Vister acting her ass off, and Lord, we get it. Because what happens is they go and scan it around, and they detect life forms. Like, that's weird. Shouldn't be any. Kara says, let me beam down. Take a look. She beams down, and whoopsie doodle. Couple angry mute people with farming implements holding them very threateningly. And when we get back from the teaser, here we are 34 minutes in, we've just finally gotten past the teaser. We finally get introduced to our main guest star, who we've already mentioned is played by IRL old man actor Brian Keith, someone with a extensive old-timey IMDb. This is someone who was a big deal actor starting in the 1920s. All right, so he was advanced in years when he took this job. And he is playing Mullabrook, who is a cantankerous but charming farmer who found his way to this planet after he fled Bajor 40 years ago, not wanting to deal with the Cardassians anymore. And he is playing the role of stubborn old man who does not want to leave as the highway comes to be built over his property. And the main focus of this episode is the interaction between him and Kira, where he is really pretty much at peace with the idea that he's just going to die when Horace Greedly launches his plan here. And he's fine with that, but he also knows he has zero capacity to resist with meaningful force if the Bajoran government or the Federation decides to simply remove him. And really his goal is to convince Kira to let him die there. And Kira is trying to make peace with the idea that now is her responsibility is to see this project through and to save this man's life, even if he doesn't want saved. And it comes down to if she feels like it's worth being the baddie in a sense, right? Like she used to be the freedom fighter struggling against impossible odds against an oppressor force. And now she kind of is the oppressor force and she fucking hates it. And it's a key character development episode for her. And it's really her and Brian Keith acting against each other from the majority of this episode. And it's fantastic.
This dude with his long ass history, it's very clear why. He just drips charm.
Oh, yeah.
He might have the Bajoran ridge on his nose, but this guy is just a rake and a pleasure to watch.
Mildly sexually harasses Kara the entire time in a way that an old man can with a smile, and you kind of just take it.
Oh, I like that she catches him on it. 'Cause I'm like, he's laying it on so thick, and I'm like, is this goofy early 90s writing, or is this guy like intentionally misogynistic? And then it's like him being not overtly dickish, but just like undertones of dick to try to make her go away as like a mechanism. And once she calls him on it, like he basically drops all of that. I love that this guy's like some of his last credits were Uncle Ben in Spider-Man the Animated Series. And in Duckman, Private Detective, he's Duckman's father, which great memories there on that one.
I read through the memory alpha on this one because it was actually somewhat short for a change. It wasn't like 18 pages. It was like maybe a few paragraphs. And there was a little bit apparently of drama over how Brian Keith played this role. Rick Berman really liked this, and the writer, Peter Allen Fields, did not. Because
let me tell you who's going to win in that argument.
Yeah,
it's the guy with the pet crocodile.
Peter Allen feels more like Peter Allen food.
Yeah.
But and it's they both agreed as to what happened, but it was just a kind of a difference in how they took it, which is to say Peter Fields like showed up and he played him as much more charming and sympathetic than the writer initially intended, which I think helped this episode. I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if this guy was an asshole.
Absolutely. Like, what was he looking for? Grumpy old men? Like,
not sure.
The entire crux of this A plot is the guy is charming, and you can't just force him. Like, if he was just some rotten piece of shit, you'd just pistol whip his ass and off he'd go.
Right.
I am stunned that he does not come back, because there's the discussion of how he got out to this moon in the first place. There's
a lot of tall tales, he's just kind of like,
yeah, but like
it's all a grain of truth, but it's all just fantastic.
Is it though? Okay, I overpowered and there were 6 people, and I was injured when I did. Like, okay, maybe it's kind of bullshit, but like after he gets shot and he's sick on the bed, he's kind of having a fever dream, and you hear him saying like, take your hands off of it. Like, clearly dude's got tragic history.
Oh, right? Yeah.
His wife was killed, or a daughter, or there's like was it resistance? Like some real baggage there. And I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to get into the fact they didn't resolve that or even touch it in this episode was like such a setup for me. Like, this is going to be a long-term character, and Kira's going to get into this dude's business. down the road. I'm stunned he does not, in fact, become her contact down on Bajor. But
I think it's actually better that they don't, because Kira clearly acknowledges that Mullabrook has a history. Bad things happen to him. Bad things happen to the people that are with him, to the point where they don't speak conveniently so that they get charged as extras. But she acknowledges, like, yeah, you struggled and fought hard to be here. Whatever the truth is, which you clearly don't actually want to tell me, right? I'm sure it was hard, because that's how they end up relating to each other. Because once he starts to get under her skin about her history as a resistance fighter, it eventually comes through in the sense that she understands that he's communicating that both of us hung on like rabid animals to what it is that we had to survive. Mine was eking out an existence as an isolated farmer on a moon no one lived on. Yours was, strangling Cardassians in fucking shitty alleys somewhere, or whatever the fuck you were doing, right? And I like that you don't need to know what his history really is. They understand each other.
and it's not unique histories either. Everybody went through bad
Yeah.
times. His was
Yeah.
interesting in that he chose to ostensibly turn his back on the people of Bajor and divorce himself from their concerns. And clearly he went through some sort of trauma, and he escaped, and he's out here doing it. That he has put the life in there and made the life he wanted seemingly with his own hands, and that everything around him, like, that was one of the real moments of clarity where he's like, everything here was me taming the area. I didn't have help, and this was like my salvation. And he keeps maintaining, like, if you take me away from here, I'll die. And they don't really explicitly go into like what that metaphor represents. And I think there's a lot of different ways you could take it.
I think there's a very clear main interpretation, which is,
Yeah,
whatever his trauma is, he's managed.
It's bio machines that have infiltrated his blood because he died in a farming accident. And now, if he leaves this world of infinite health, he will die.
I mean, obviously.
That's a thing that happens in Deep Space Nine.
That's true. No, they're not in the Gamma Quadrant.
This is the one planet in the Alpha Quadrant that does. Wait, is this Alpha or Beta? It's Beta, right?
This is Alpha Quadrant.
Yeah.
I think the way you're supposed to interpret the metaphor is, whatever his trauma was, which he clearly does not want to disclose, he has managed his pain. He has managed his existence around the focus and discipline necessary to have eked out his existence as a subsistence farmer here, and therefore taking him away from this method by which he has essentially been able to occupy himself and keep away from his own trauma in that way, that will kill him, because he won't have this thing that he has built anymore and that he can occupy his time on. Like, he's not really worried about its continued existence as like, this is my land. It's more this is my purpose. This is the thing I did to get away from my pain. And by taking me away from the thing that's keeping me away from my pain, you've caused me to be subsumed by it, and that will kill me. That's at least the way I interpreted it. And Kira knows that. Kira understands that. Kira identifies with that, because Kira had to deal with that herself. Now, she chose to take a different path, obviously. She chose to murder the shit out of all of the Cardassians she could get her hands on. But in much the same way, it was her outlet to finding a release from her suffering. And now she's struggling with what's next for her, because that's no longer her life. Instead, she's an apparatchik of the state. She has to go and root people out of their homes so they can Horace Greedly their moons. And she hates that that's what her life is. At the same time, and this is Sisko's key moment in the episode, is when he shows up and is like, listen, I need you. And Bajor needs you, because you are a person whose heart is in the fucking right place. And I get why you're here, and I get why you can't let this guy go. But we have a job to do.
And your bitch ass boss, who is not me, is breathing down your neck. Like, I didn't care for that minister guy that Bajor set up. Like, not only does he seem kind of like a dipshit, And I want to use this guy as like a real insight into the provincial government, because everybody seems to have a very low opinion of that as of the first episode. And I want to say, short of religious figures, this is the first kind of like Bajoran government person that we've seen
It's true.
outside of Kira. And there's a lot wrong with this guy. He's meek, he's stupid, he is intrusive, like he's hassling O'Brien, like, what's that blinking light mean on your desk? And ultimately he's faced with a decision of, do we smash and grab the energy out of this planet and in the process displace all these people and also make this place uninhabitable, or do we invest the year to gentle laser it out where we're not having these terrible repercussions? And he is firmly of the camp of like, we're going to do this now. And I like that Kira kind of like says to his face, like, that's the Cardassian way of basically strip mining resources, and that's shitty.
Yeah.
And this guy also wants nothing to do with going and putting his own feet down on the ground and talking to this farmer or whatever. Like, he is wholly content to say, send the militants out, send the military out to do my bidding as enforcers. And I'm curious to see, like, is that going to be a thread that continues with Bajor of like, their politicians have learned the wrong way of doing things from the Cardassians, and like they're going to have to come to terms with that.
There is definitely a lot of plot left to happen about the internal politics and the difficulties that Bajor is going to be facing. And that's actually, I would say, the primary meta plot of the first 2 seasons of the show.
Well, you rightfully said that the first 2 seasons are about Kira, and that certainly has been reinforced in the past couple episodes between Space Pope kind of dying until biomechanical pixie dust brought her back to life. Now this thing, she's faced down some pretty big moral dilemmas here.
Well, geez, wait until we get to Duet.
Yeah.
That's just a few weeks away. You better be ready to podcast for like 2.5 fucking hours, by the way, when we get to that episode. I'm not going to be able to shut up about it. I legitimately wrote a paper about it in undergrad. So you want to talk about freaking Kira Nerys having to face her demons. You're in for a treat. So the episode, a lot of it's just up to you getting to watch these two actors. I want to say, like, Nana Vister, she has an amazingly expressive face. So a lot of her ability to communicate emotion so effectively really comes from that. So it's very well utilized here, and this kind of small scale. You're having these conversations one-on-one. You're in framing the camera. She's really big with her emotions, but it's really all in here in the face. And I've always enjoyed that. Second, sorry to be shallow for a second, but good grief, this woman was so attractive in 1993 or whatever the fuck it was. What, 1993? Because this jumpsuit she's in is not built to be particularly flattering, but she still manages to be flattering in it. At one point, she takes her jacket off, and she's doing farm stuff, and it's like
she takes her jacket off, and like the pants have an integrated t-shirt built into them.
Yeah,
but the t-shirt also like doubles as a coffee cup doily. It has this intricate but not sexual like boob window.
Yeah. It's not a flattering design, and I'm saying, like, she still looks good in it. Like, what the fuck?
Like if grandma had a romper.
Yes.
Her grandma romper. Old man is unwilling to budge. He charms her. She's not willing to put the boot to him. Again, we live in a world where transporter kidnapping is very real and a state-endorsed option. She is not willing to do it. She goes back to DS9. There's some back and forth on it. She ultimately goes, all right, I'm going in there with thugs. I did notice that when she brings the security guys, they do not have collars, which makes me wonder if any of the security people have collars.
The security people are enlisted. The officers have collars.
Okay, so it's the same as like season 4 of Next Gen and on. They reuse the old collarless costumes from the early seasons.
That's the
Because they're
intention
still good.
anyway, yeah.
So Odo is enlisted.
Odo is not wearing an actual uniform.
I know he's not, but I mean, still, he's not an officer, right?
Odo doesn't have a rank. He's just Constable Odo. He's the chief of security.
Well, at least he's still around. The Federation security guy just seems to be MIA. Porkins.
T. Porkins had his 2 episodes and left.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
he got to figure out the virus that space rascal terrorist doctor, whatever. So she comes back down with the jackbooted thugs, but they don't have standing collars, so they're not actually that bad. She fails to mention, hey, by the way, these dudes are quick to turn hose and rakes into javelins.
Good look out, you might get stabbed. There is a kerfuffle, and when the kerfuffle happens, apparently this old man has incredible old man fighting abilities, because he immediately manages to subdue a grown younger man with his bare hands, and he's like gone to the Tuvok school of choking a bitch, like just goes right for the jugular. And of course,
well, they come back and they're like, these crazy motherfuckers stabbed me. I'm bleeding. We came here to help people, and now they're going to have to go to trial for like assault on a police officer or something.
There are no rules in Bajor.
Well, clearly there are. Otherwise, it would have just been field executions.
And one of the guys eventually gets his phaser out, and sure as shit, he shoots the old man in the chest
on kill.
We gotta call the doctor. Bashir comes down and treats the guy. Doesn't want to leave. Eventually, this is where Kira makes the decision, like, I'm sticking around. I can't make this guy leave. I don't have it in me.
I've got PTO to burn, and it's use it or lose it. So this is as good of a place as anyways.
Right.
I'm literally going to be the last person who's able to vacation on this serene, beautiful moon.
And so Bashir goes back up to the station, and I actually really like this scene where he explains what happens to Sisko. And Sisko's like, yeah, well, if I report that, she's going to lose her job. So instead, I'm going to report that you told her to stay. And Bashir says, well, that's not true. And then he says, make it true. Now, please. Like, how about you say what I just told you to say, so it's not a lie? Have you thought about that, Julian? Have you understand? Are you understanding what I'm attempting to communicate with you?
How low of a grade do you think a Starfleet officer could get in their ethics class before they kick you out of Starfleet Academy?
I mean, well, I guess whatever it is, it's just look up Ben Sisko's fucking record while he was in the academy.
There was the old standard, and then there was the post Sisko standard where they had to go back through and revise it. Like, maybe Sisko used to be a good officer, and then when his wife died, like, he just went off the rails and no one's really fully cognizant of how bad it is.
I mean,
maybe he just stopped taking his space Prozac. Like,
maybe that's it. Maybe that's what he did after Jennifer died, is he stopped taking his Federation antidepressants, and this is why he is just the most real talking motherfucker there is. I appreciate that it differentiates Sisko from all of the other captain characters in a very clear way. This man sees rules as an obstacle, not something to be followed. And he is very happy to openly manipulate what's going on around him to get to what he believes is the correct answer. And he doesn't want to lose Kira. And so he's decided, I'm going to bully my medical officer into lying to me so that I can then lie to someone else, so I can find a way to solve this fucking problem without losing my subordinate.
Imagine you're Julian Bashir and your boss just blatantly bullies you and belittles you and
all
talks down,
yells at you.
Let's assume you're also not a masochist, so there's not an enjoyment factor to this.
Yes.
And now it's gotten to the point where he has just coerced you into falsifying medical orders. Like, where's the line for Julian before he's like, you're going to get us both fired? And
to like this.
I'm not going down on the ship with you, and also either you're going to start treating me nice, or I'm going to blackmail you into something terrible. Because he's certainly got a pretty good cache of blackmail material up to this point, I think.
Well, unfortunately for Julian, there's quite a bit of blackmail material on him later on.
Yeah. Well.
Whoopsie doodle.
Hey, that's good writing. That's just building in a system as to where it's no longer lopsided.
He goes back to sickbay and he's like, I can't rat him out. Someone will start looking into my background. Like, fuck. Why did I choose this assignment? He's so mean. So it does allow the opportunity for Cisco to go down and have the pep talk with Kira, which I think really works because their relationship has been rocky from the premiere. They have yelled at each other more than not. And this is the first opportunity for Cisco to actually say, I actually really like you. Like, I think you're good for what I need to do this job, right? You're somebody who I can rely upon that cares about the Bajoran people and doing right by them, which, by the way, Jean-Luc Picard told me I needed to, get into the Federation by any means short of...
Which is why I'm ignoring the fact that they're hoggish greedlying this planet.
Right, which means I'm the hoggish greedly planet, and that means I need people like you who are going to be my interlocutor into this society in a way that is sincere, and I get it.
I want to see the application process once it actually begins formally, and like the Federation EPA reviewing what happened here.
You what to this planet?
Like, why you couldn't just use the portable energy cells to heat these people? What the fuck?
We helped you do this. Like, who signed off on Ben? Ben, is this another one of you? Did you do this? Was this before or after you became their Jesus?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to.
I'm looking at the file here. This was called Operation Planet Cracker. So
was it Cracker because you were cracking the planet, or was it Cracker because you're cracking?
Okay. The play that Kira has is to basically indulge the guy for as long as she can before she comes to terms. There's this kiln that becomes kind of like the manifestation of the dream of the planet, and she helps him complete it, and then she sets her phaser to explosions, and the dude's like, what the fuck? I don't understand why she doesn't just leave him to die.
I think that what she is trying to fight through, like I said before, I'm talking about Kira here. Kira is trying to find her way through her own pain into the next thing that happens, right? Which is something all of Bajor is doing. We had a traumatic experience. It's over. But moving on from that traumatic experience is going to require us all to uncomfortably change. Or otherwise, we will fall back into chaos and disorder and civil war and all these things that they've teased, right? Like, if we can't move past our pain, we will never build a new future. I think that's actually established in the dialogue of this episode relatively well. So she can't let him die. Her job is to save his life. That is why she is there. And it's not just saving his life in that his physical form must be removed from this planet before it gets Horace Greedly. It's also, I need to make sure you move on from this because I have to move on from this. Every Bajoran has to move on from this.
It's a big ask for this old man. And at this stage, from what we've seen in Deep Space Nine, a byline for the show is, it's not okay for you to die on your own terms. The planet of undeath with Mike Ehrmantraut, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could have provided a suicide option for people to beam up to the runabout and finally die and break their centuries-old cycle of torture that never gets discussed, and rightfully so. Like, it could have been a throwaway dialogue line. I get why they didn't. Here, this guy's trying to be the master of his own destiny and basically go down with the ship. No, I won't let you. Not only am I going to ruin your property, but basically force march you up. I don't think she has her phaser out on him. Like, he eventually, I'm assuming, goes willingly, but it's not until after she blows up the kiln and then shows him, this is what happens when you don't build a house to code. You get the most flammable house of all time. I refuse to believe that this guy's house is not burned down several times at this point and been rebuilt with the ease that she sets his whole house on fire.
It's almost like a stone fortress from the Acolyte. It just immediately catches on fire everywhere.
And that's what it seems like. It's made out of stone too, but really it's naturally occurring styrofoam.
It's probably why there hasn't been any people who've, lived there for very long. They die in horrific fires. But, I think they establish it well enough that he knows he can't meaningfully resist being moved. I think he even says to Bashir, "Oh, I could have just been beamed off this fucking planet while I was unconscious. I'm still here."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so he doesn't resist because he knows he can't. That's not in the cards for him, and he knows that's not in the cards for him. He is trying to convince her to leave him to die of his own volition.
The order of operation here is what it needs to be to tell this emotional story.
Yeah.
And they tell it, and off they go. And again, she's got this line like, "You can be whoever you want." Really seems like she's trying to set him up with as sweet a deal as possible. "I need someone down on Bajor. I want it to be you." Full expectations that this guy was going to be a reoccurring character. Very sad to hear that it's not, because he certainly was a smooth operator and very fun to have on screen. And I think he would have been a cool resource guy, but no more use out of him.
To return to our B plot, because we did not talk about it. Well, we'll wrap
I'm
on.
excited about it.
Self-sealing
stem bolts.
Self-sealing stem bolts. You want to talk about it? This character was not reused, but boy howdy, the self-sealing stem bolt joke is going to return on a number of occasions throughout DS9. Well, that's why it was referenced in that Lower Decks episode. Like, the self-stealing stem bolt is a joke about technobabble. Like, Nog doesn't know what the self-stealing stem bolt does. Jake doesn't know what it does. And then O'Brien shows up, and O'Brien doesn't know what it does. He only knows what it is because he read the manifest. And it's a perfect example of this just stupid, pointless Trek technobabble object. What is it? No one knows, but it belongs to somebody. We're going to sell it to them. It doesn't matter what they are.
It's a plot item. You cannot delete it out of your inventory, and it must be traded away.
And guess what? It belongs to someone on Azeroth, so you're going to have to go and deliver if you want your quest reward. Your gold.
They start with soy sauce packets. They turn it into self-sealing stem bolts. They trade it then onto a guy down on the surface who is willing to give them land. And someone here has all the best luck in the world. They're getting this barter turnaround time of like 20 minutes start to finish, that they're finding these people and selling them.
I mean, they did turn like 5,000 soy sauce packets into like a city lot somewhere. It was actually a pretty good deal.
It happens.
Jake was right.
Yeah. And then you got this great scene where, well, before it, the question becomes, how are we actually going to get the soy sauce packets? How are we going to get all that yum yum sauce from your uncle? And Nog's like, hey, the yum yum sauce is in the way. Should I just go throw it all out? And he's like freaking out, pissed that it's even being mentioned. And then I like that he turns back to Nog and he's like, you're a good boy. I'm acknowledging that you're a good boy now, just based on like obedience. And then by the end of the episode, when Odo's like, this new syndicate has
this critical piece of land for a development deal
that just forged. How pissed off do you think the guy is that took those self-stealing symbols? Like, he's got to be kicking himself in the ass. Like, fuck, they're breaking ground on the new Intel chip fab plant, which is falling apart as we speak, by the way. That's going to be some real hot Ohio talk here.
I understand that has not gone well. No,
I think TSMC, whatever. That guy's got to really be kicking himself in the ass for what could have been one gold press latinum he just lost out on. Quite the sweet deal. As soon as Odo's like, if you find out what this cartel is that's now wheeling in Bajoran land deals, let me know. He's like not even out of Quark's bar yet, and Quark's already in the junk drawer pulling out the security cylinders so he can hack the system in front of everybody, because like that's his computer is like behind the bar. I love the audacity that he is just hacking.
It's just in a drunk drawer. It's
Well,
just like
that's fine, but like the terminal he's interfacing, it's not in the back bar, like the bar manager's area. It's just right there next to the lime wheels. Nog comes up and says, "Hey, look, it's us. Give us our 4 gold pressed latinum, and you can have this piece of land to broker and like really, you know, fuck people over or whatever." Do we ever find out what Jake and Dog do with 5 bars of gold pressed latinum, which has to be pretty valuable, right? Do you think there's a converter?
There is, in fact, yes.
Platinum to US dollar. Oh, there it is. Autocomplete.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. How many bars did you get off of this?
5.
5. Convert. Oh, come on. That's bullshit.
What?
$0.000001. Like, come on. Wait, is this an actively am I looking at crypto? What is this? The fucking hell am I looking at here?
Oh my god. Is that what you... Okay. Hold on. I'm going to look at Daystrom Institute. All right. There is, in fact, a gold press latinum crypto. So that's what you found. All right. So 1 slip of gold press latinum is apparently equivalent to $2.
What?
Slip. Okay. And there's 100 slips in a strip. So 1 strip of gold press latinum would be worth $200. And there are 20 strips in a bar. You got 5 bars. So if there are, it's $200 for a strip. That means it's going to be $4,000 for a bar. So you got 20 grand.
This is as of when? What's the timestamp on this post?
10 years ago.
So let's adjust that for inflation.
Double it.
So $8,000 more. What are they? I assume they're spending that on holosuites now, right?
I mean, those intergalactic fuck dens do not operate themselves. They require people to clean them.
I absolutely believe that Quark would not have a friends and family fuck free policy, right?
Absolutely not. These are in fact.
So is the inferral here, the inference like, I want 5 bars of latinum holosuite credits, so me and my horny human teenager friend can just pump holograms all night for a couple months. Keep us out of trouble.
I think we've had enough of this episode, Peter. What are we watching next week? What is it?
If wishes were horses.
Oh, Jesus.
Following a week in the holosuites, Jake and Nog must unclog the... Jake must explain to his father why the majority of his holosuite activity has involved horses. Station residents suddenly find their imaginations are manifested in physical form. So far, my prediction's not wrong. A spatial rift threatens... Yeah. Okay, we're back into zany A-plot, B-plot. A-plot
is the Doom level going to have problems while Azeroth is under attack? Again?
A-plot is space leprechauns. B-plot, a spatial rift threatens to destroy the Bajoran system. I don't see anybody very interesting in these credits, so... This looks like a bad one, Joe.
It's fucking wild, I'll say that.
Mr. Mixaplix is in there. We got the little...
Yeah, like... There will be leprechauns. And there will be you listening to us talk about leprechauns. Anything else that comes to mind next week. See you then, everybody.